Welcome to the Padres Postgame Show on the Padres Radio Network. Coming up, we'll deliver a full recap of today's game, including highlights from the biggest moments. We'll take a trip down to the manager's office to hear from Mike Shildt. Plus, we'll bring you scores from around Major League Baseball. The Padres Postgame Show starts now on the Padres Radio Network.
Runners lead at first and second. Pitch is swung on and missed. Strike three. Tanner Scott picks up the save against his former team, and the Marlins go down in 10 again. Padres a 9-8 win, and for the first time in franchise history, they have won 16 out of 18.
Another wacky, wild, but wonderful win for the Padres, this time once again in Miami, as the Padres win it 9-8 in 10 innings against the Miami Marlins. The Padres have won 7 in a row, and for the first time in franchise history, they have won 16 of 18 games. Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios. Welcome into our post-game show here on the Padres Radio Network. A lot to do on our post-game coverage. We have all the radio highlights for you, a full game recap. We'll hear from Mike Shildt and much, much more. But before we get into all of that, we talked about yesterday's game being a game that you could sort of split into two parts. Everything that happened when the Padres were trailing 2-0, and then everything that happened from that point on. Well, this game here today, this wasn't just the two-part game. This was really a three-part affair, and the Padres once again found a way to come back and win it. But important to remember that early on, the Padres were sort of cruising in this game. It was a 3-0 ball game. They got a run in the first inning, a run in the third inning, a run in the fourth inning. Matt Waldron, some early trouble in the first, some trouble in the third, but to the point of the bottom of the fourth inning, it was a 3-0 game, and Waldron had really, really settled in. A home run in the fourth inning makes it 3-1. And then really, what was a nightmarish bottom half of the fifth inning? The Marlins scored 6 runs in the bottom half of the fifth inning to take a 7-3 lead. And at that point in the game, you're thinking to yourself, okay, maybe the Padres have the ability to come back once again. Maybe. But, hey, you can't win every game. They've played so well. You know what? Maybe it's just not their day. It's hard to overcome, really, in any Major League Baseball game, a 6-run inning, and the Marlins had a 7-3 lead. Well, wouldn't you know it? The Padres, the comeback kids, they did it again. They scored 2 runs in the 7th inning. They scratch across a couple to make it 7-5. And then Jackson Merrill, incredibly, once again comes through. A huge swing, 2-run home run in the 8th inning to make it a 7-7 game. And the Padres ultimately tie the game at 7-7. They would go on to take an 8-7 lead later in that inning on an RBI infield single from Luis Arraez that would score the go-ahead run to make it 8-7. But the game was not done from there. Jake Berger then a home run in the bottom half of the inning to make it 8-8. Top of the 10th inning, Padres scratch across a run to make it a 9-8 game, and then Tanner Scott able to get through that bottom half of the 10th inning to win it for the Padres 9-8. And those were the 3 parts of this game. The Padres with the early lead kind of cruising along, and then the Marlins with the 6-run 5th inning taking a 7-3 lead, and the Padres behind scratching across runs, moving the line, passing the baton, fighting, battling, all the cliche words that have been so true for this team as of late. And then Jackson Merrill, what more can you say? Another huge moment. Ties the game at 7. Padres get another run. Berger ties it, and they ultimately just find a way. And that is what this streak, what this run, 16 out of 18, it is what it's been all about, right? I mean, again, one of my keys to the game today, as cliche as it sounds, was to just keep doing what you've been doing from a fight, battle, comeback perspective. And they just continue to never be counted out of any game, and it's been a whole lot of fun to watch. They've won 7 in a row, and like we said, for the first time in franchise history, winners of 16 games in an 18-game span. We'll step aside. We'll come back with a full game recap, all the radio highlights from this one. You don't want to miss it. Another incredible win on this Saturday. We'll hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt, and much, much more to come on the Padres Radio Network. Our postgame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Final score in 10 innings in Miami. The Padres 9 and the Marlins 8. The Padres beat the Fish in Miami in 10 for a second consecutive game. The Padres have won 7 in a row for the second time already since the All-Star break. They have won 16 out of their last 18 games. Like we've said a handful of times, the first time in franchise history any Padres team has ever won 16 games in an 18-game span. So quite literally, the Padres accomplishing something here today in 2024 they have never done before. And oh man, did they have to fight to do it. The comeback kids were simply at it again as the Padres, who trailed in this game by 4 runs entering the 7th inning, they battled back the tie, they took a lead, they lost a lead, they got a lead, and ultimately they win it by a final score of 9-8. Padres now 66-52 on the year. Miami drops to 43-75. We'll go back to Miami in a little bit, hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt. Looking forward to that, so stay tuned. But first, let's recap what was another wild, wacky, long game from start to finish.
What moments had the biggest impact on today's game? We'll paint you a picture with our game recap on the Padres Radio Network.
It's easy to forget that Roddery Munoz and Matt Waldron started this game because so much happened as the afternoon went along. Padres, though, got off to a very quick start against Marlins starter Roddery Munoz. Luis Arraez had a leadoff single to begin the game. With one out, it was Jake Cronenworth at the plate.
And the Padres another dramatic victory as Cronenworth hits one in the air to left center field. He has found the gap. That is going to bounce once up against the wall. Arraez is rounding third on his way. He's going to score without a throw. An RBI double for Jake Cronenworth. And the Padres with a run here in the top of the first.
So an early 1-0 lead. Matt Waldron got into immediate trouble in the bottom half of the inning. He walked the leadoff man. He hit the next guy, but that he then retired the next 3 in a row to strand 2 runners on base. Fast forward to the top of the third. Jerkson Profar hit a 2-out single. Jake Cronenworth was hit by a pitch. That set things up for Manny Machado.
Runners lead. Now the 2-1 pitch. That's hit the other way and off the glove of the diving Lopez, trickling into right field. Profar is being waved. He's on his way. He's going to score. RBI single, Manny Machado, and the Padres add on. It's 2-0.
So a 2-0 lead. Padres struck again in the top of the fourth inning. David Peralta reached on a 1-out double. Ha-Sung Kim was next.
Here's the pitch. Kim swings, hits it sharply up the middle, into center, and a base hit. Peralta rounding third. Throw coming from Hill way up the line and high. No chance to get him. An RBI single for Kim, who goes to second on the throw, and the Padre lead is 3-0.
So let's be honest about it. The Padres were sort of cruising right along, a 3-0 lead going to the bottom half of the fourth inning. Waldron got the first 2 outs of the inning, but then the tide began to turn. It was Vidal Brujan.
Is the 2-1. Brujan hits it hard in the air to deep center field. Jackson Merrill going back. He's just going to watch this one. Going to go straightaway center for Vidal Brujan, his second of the year. And the Marlins are on the board. It's 3-1 in the bottom of the fourth.
So the Padres still had that 3-1 lead going to the bottom half of the fifth inning. Waldron got the first out of the frame, but then Xavier Edwards reached on an infield single. He stole second. Jake Berger walked. That brought up Jesus Sanchez.
Berger at first, Edwards with great wheels at second, and the 1-2's line the other way. That's a fair ball down the left field line, going to go all the way to the corner. Edwards going to come in and score easily. Berger is being waved. Kim's got the relay headed home, and the tag is not made. Higashioka has to go in and out of his glove. Not sure they would have had him anyway. A 2-run double for Sanchez, and we start over 3-3 here in the fifth.
Waldron then hit the next batter. That was it for Waldron. Jeremiah Estrada came in. He uncorked a wild pitch as the runners went to second and third base. He issued a walk to load the bases. Otto Lopez was next.
1-2. Here's the pitch. Lopez swings, lines it sharply down the right field side. That's a fair ball. Peralta gets to it fairly quickly, but a couple of runs are going to score. Throw comes into Cronenworth. It's a 2-run double for Otto Lopez, and the Marlins have their first lead of the day. It's 5-3.
So it was 5-3, and unfortunately, the inning was far from over. Estrada walked Brujan, and then he gave up a sac fly to Derek Hill as Kyle Stowers scored from third base. That made it a 6-3 game. Johnny Pareda then hit an RBI single to make it 7-3. So all in all, a 6-run bottom half of the fifth inning. And all of a sudden, the Marlins had a 7-3 lead. Johnny Brito would finish that bottom half of the fifth inning. We go to the top of the seventh inning. Padres still down 7-3. They rallied. The bottom third of the order hit 3 straight singles to start the frame against Marlins reliever Declan Cronin. Luis Arraez then plated a run with a ground out to make it 7-4. Jerkson Profar was hit by a pitch to load the bases again. Jake Cronenworth then collected an RBI with a fielder's choice to make it 7-5. Marlins manager Skip Schumacher went to righty Anthony Bender to face Manny Machado with the tying runs. Still on base, Bender struck out Machado to end the inning. All the meanwhile, Johnny Brito did a good job keeping the deficit at 7-5. We'll talk about Brito more a little bit later. He pitched the scoreless bottom half of the seventh inning. So again, the Padres still were trailing 7-5 going to the top of the eighth inning. Anthony Bender back on the mound for Miami. Xander Bogaerts drew a leadoff walk. And wouldn't you know it, Mr. Jackson Merrill was next.
Here's the pitch. Merrill swings, hits it in the air, deep to right field. Brujan is back. He has done it again. A 2-run homer for Jackson Merrill to tie it. The first home run allowed by the Marlins here this afternoon. It is a game-tying shot in the eighth inning, 7-7.
So a 7-7 game, the kid, the rookie, had struck again. To give you some context, Jackson Merrill has hit a game-tying home run in the 8th or 9th inning in 3 out of his last 4 games, in 4 out of the last 10 games. Just an incredible ability to rise to the moment for a 21-year-old in the major league. So we had a 7-7 game. The Padres that trailed by 4, they had come back to tie it. Padres in that 8th inning weren't done. David Peralta doubled. Bryce Johnson pinch ran for him. He went to third base on a sacrifice bunt. With 2 men away and Johnson still on third, it was Luis Arraez.
0-1. Arraez swings, muscles it up the middle. One hop, funny hop. Lopez, trouble getting it out of his glove. Throw to first, not in time. Padres go in front 8-7 as Johnson scores. And Otto Lopez, you could just see, was never comfortable with it. Had a shot to make the play, little bit of trouble getting it out of his glove, and the Padres lead 8-7.
It was ruled an RBI infield single for Arraez, and the Padres had an 8-7 lead. They went to Adrian Morejon for the bottom half of the 8th inning. Morejon got the first 2 outs, but then it was Jake Berger.
0-1 pitch, hit in the air to deep right field. Bryce Johnson is back. He's got a little bit of room. No, turns around, watches, off the top of the wall, and then out a home run. Berger goes the other way, and this game is tied again 8-8.
So back and forth we went. We had an 8-8 game. Jesus Sanchez would single, steal second, go to third on a wild throw by Kyle Higashioka, but Morejon got out of the inning with the game still tied at 8. So we went to the 9th inning. Calvin Fauché tossed the scoreless top of the inning. Robert Suarez tossed the 1-2-3 bottom half of the inning. We went to the 10th inning, still an 8-8 tie. Right-hander John McMillan came on to pitch for Miami. Tyler Wade was the Padres' automatic runner on second base. Ha-Sung Kim walked. Kyle Higashioka laid down a great sacrifice bunt to move the runners to second and third base. Luis Arraez then put together a tough at-bat. He saw 7 pitches, and here's what happened on pitch number 8.
Here's the pitch. Luis swings, bounces it towards first. Pride's got it. Thought about coming home. Instead, he'll tag Arraez. Wade is scored, and the Padres lead 9-8 here in the 10th.
That's all the Padres got in the top half of the inning. Third RBI of the day for Arraez. They had a 9-8 lead going to the bottom half of the 10th. Vidal Brujan was on second base to start the inning for Miami. Tanner Scott came on to pitch for the Padres. Derek Hill laid down a bunt. It was a beauty. He was safe at first base. Brujan went to third. Christian Pache then pinch hit. He tried to bunt 3 times and ultimately popped it up. It was caught by the pitcher Scott. That was out number 1. Hill then stole second base to put the winning run in scoring position. So, again, the Padres a 9-8 lead. Bottom half of the 10th inning, the tying run on third, the winning run on second base. It was Xavier Edwards, the former Padre prospect, at the plate.
Infield all the way in now. 1-0 pitch, swung on, grounded to third. Manny's got it, coming home, the tag, and Brujan is out. 2 down in the 10th. And boy, not an easy angle for Machado at all. And I have no idea how he got the ball to Higashioka.
Not easy at all. Manny made a good play, a good throw to home plate. They cut down the potential tying run at the dish. But inning was not over. There were still runners on first and second for the dangerous Jake Berger. Padres with a 9-8 lead. Bottom half of the 10th inning, they were 1 out away from another win.
Runners lead at first and second. Pitch is swung on and missed. Strike 3. Tanner Scott picks up the save against his former team, and the Marlins go down in 10 again. Padres a 9-8 win, and for the first time in franchise history, they have won 16 out of 18.
It's 7 wins in a row for the second time since the start of the second half. It's 7 consecutive series wins. And like Jesse said, 16 wins in 18 games for the very first time in franchise history. Padres will certainly end the day still maintaining the top wild card spot in the National League. And at the current moment, they are 2 games behind the LA Dodgers for first place in the National League West. The Dodgers play the Pittsburgh Pirates a little bit later in LA tonight. If the Dodgers were to lose, we'll see what happens. Padres would be a game and a half out of first place in the West. Final totals in this game for the Padres: 9 runs, 12 hits, 1 error. For the Marlins, 8 runs, 11 hits, and no errors. Padres improved to 66-52. Miami drops to 43-75. Let's go back to Lone Depot Park in Miami. Here's some post-game reaction.
Let's pull up a seat in the manager's office and hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt. Presented by Sinley Food. Spice up your culinary life.
What's it like managing a game like this? I mean, every game is kind of taxing, and these ones are just going and going.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a privilege to manage games like that, you know, with the club we have and the desire, the ability to compete, the dedication to playing the game right, doing what the game calls for. Guys coming in like T. Scott, you know, at 4 out of 5 for him in the 10th. You know, it's what it's all about ultimately.
Again, how much of a benefit is that? I mean, I know you would have faith in all of your relievers. You've done it before, but you are able to roll 2 closers in a row, second night in a row.
It's really a special part of our club. That depth piece is huge. You know, I said it. We talked about it over the course of the year about you know, the depth of your bullpen and the ability to, you know, hold it right there and come back and on display again tonight. But before we get to the big boys, they're all big boys, but let's don't forget Johnny Brito in this equation. You know, 2 1/3, kept it right there. You know, came in, got through it, 2 clean ones. Man, huge, effective job by Johnny to set us up for later to use our guys like the way you bring it home with.
The familiar hero, again, in Jackson. And I know we asked you about it last night. I know he's not concerned, you're not concerned, but he's certainly put himself in the conversation for the Rookie of the Year. I wonder what your thoughts are.
Yeah, you know, again, play speaks for itself, but his play speaking very loud. You know, he's play speaking very loud. I think it's definitely more in consideration. He's not, I'm not. We're about team goals here. You know, we want individual achievements for sure for the guys. That's part of the gig. But he's just looking to play and contribute to help us win games, which he's clearly doing. And I'd like to think that's probably a pretty big consideration for that award.
To follow up there, 16 out of 19 since the All-Star break. I mean, you feel something special going on here. I mean, you give up a 6-run inning and come back and win it.
Yeah, I felt something special all year. You know, it's on display consistently throughout the course of the season, you know, and the guys are doing it. There's not a doubt in anybody's mind in this clubhouse, staff, of course, but players most importantly. Just going to figure out a way to find the solution to win. That's what winners do.
17-4 last 21 road games. What do you make of that success away from Peckham?
You know, again, I mean, I do recognize there's home, there's road. It's part of the, you know, way people evaluate things. I personally, you know, wherever we play, we play. You know, if it's on the road, if it's at home, it's cold, it's hot, it's digging after night game. You know, we compete regardless of circumstances, and you know, the consistency of competition is really what this is all about. And this is a team that's dedicated to that. A lot of respect for them.
What have you liked from Tanner so far?
Man, that was big, man. A lot to love about Tanner so far. That was big. Like I said, we weren't necessarily going to absolutely stay away from him, obviously. You know, but he's been 3 out of 4 and a couple of multiple innings, you know, gone back out, and Morejon is fresh. And, you know, I thought Adrian threw the ball really well. You know, Berger put a swing on him, and other than that, he was really sharp. But, you know, T. Scott's been huge for us.
Can you go over how dominant Robert Suarez has been this year? It's 9 consecutive outings without allowing the run, and with a key arm in your bullpen this year.
Key arm, big outs. You know, sometimes a lot of times you don't use the closer on the road in the 9th in a tie game. But to Ace's point, you know, we have the guys that we trust beyond that, and you know, we got to shut down the 9th to get to the 10th. And so we went out there and tie ball game and did what he does, and that's get after it and throw a lot of quality strikes and make the situation bigger than it is. And you know, he's been a tremendous asset for us. He's done a great job.
What was your view on Peralta hustling up that double?
I loved it. Right out of the box. Saw it out of the box, hit it, knew it was going away from him a little bit. Was looking to make a baseball play, and then he made a really tremendous baseball slide.
The sacrifice bunt by Iggy. Is that just him, or you see that there's?
Yeah, that's you know, occasionally I manage. No, that's him getting the bunt down. Did a great job with the bunt, and getting Luis, man, we got to give tip of the cap to our guy Luis. Might have got overlooked a little bit last night in this conversation, but not with us. And but had a big hit last night in the 10th, and then a couple go-ahead RBIs tonight, including the last one. So 3 on the day. Just really good at bats, but good baseball. Brought to good at bats, came to good at bats. Mitch and Higgy's fun. Everybody contributed again.
Going back to Suarez, out of the 15 pitches he threw, 11 were over 100 miles. So obviously that fastball is pretty good. But from your perspective, what makes him so special and efficient?
I like the word efficient. He is efficient. He's able to throw a lot of quality strikes with plus heater, but he's also got the secondary pitches that you have to honor as well. But he's just he's basically commanding 100, 98 to 101 almost every night, plus a good secondary pitch to couple with. So that's a pretty lethal combination.
Thank you.
Nice play by Manny too in that last inning. Yeah. Play at home with that runner. Yeah, it's a big time play.
That was Padres manager Mike Shildt after this thrilling 9-8 win for the Padres against the Marlins in 10, second straight 10-inning win for the Padres in Miami. By the way, the Padres now 7-1 in extra innings this year, and they continue to find ways to just win baseball games. It has been a fun ride as of late, 16-2 in their last 18 games. Well, step aside. When we come back, we're going to talk about one of the real, I think, unsung heroes from this game, but we're going to make sure he's not unsung. But we'll talk about that when we come back because, like I said, you can really split this game down into, I think, 3 parts today. We'll talk about a Padre reliever who had a big day, a really big part of this win, and we'll also discuss how this was another example of it being a 26-man roster effort. Top to bottom. They've done it again here today, sort of unbelievably. So we'll discuss that and much more to come. Final score, Padres 9, Marlins 8 in 10 on the Padres Radio Network. Our post-game show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios on this gorgeous Saturday here in America's finest city. Padres making the fans here once again in San Diego very happy. Another big-time comeback win. The Padres trailing 7-3 heading into the seventh inning. They would tie it. They would take a lead. They would lose the lead. They would get another lead and ultimately win this game by a final score of 9-8 in 10 against the Marlins. Let's talk about one reliever from this game that made a really big impact.
Which pitcher was able to come in and slam the door shut? It's time for the relief pitcher of the game in support of the Jacobs and Cushman San Diego Food Bank, providing food assistance to local children, families, and seniors in need. To get help or give help, visit SanDiegoFoodBank.org.
We'll get to the guys in the back end in the 9th and the 10th in a moment. But to me, relief pitcher of the game, there is no doubt about it, is Johnny Brito in this game. Brito comes in the bottom half of the fifth inning after the Marlins had scored 6 runs to take a 7-3 lead. Really a nightmare of an inning. Matt Waldron, it unraveled a bit after he was good until then, and then Jeremiah Estrada did not have his best stuff today. He really struggled in that fifth inning. Johnny Brito replaces Estrada. He does walk a batter, but he strikes out Jake Berger, good hitter, to get out of that inning. Kept it a 7-3 game. Brito then throws a 1-2-3 sixth inning. And then after the Padres got 2 runs to make it 7-5 in the top of the 7th inning, Brito had a big job in that bottom half of the 7th in trying to keep it a 2-run deficit, and that's what he did through a scoreless bottom half of the 7th inning. So all in all for Brito today, 2 innings and a third, scoreless, 1 hit, struck out 3, walked 1 on a grand total of 29 pitches, 19 for strikes. You cannot overlook what Brito did in this game to keep it 7-3, then to keep it 7-5. In that spot in the bottom half of the 7th inning, when you've cut the deficit in half, we talk about it all the time, how important a shutdown inning is. And in that spot, it was really, really important, and Brito did the job. So for all those reasons, Johnny Brito, our relief pitcher of the game. Really important 2 1/3 scoreless innings in the big picture of this ball game today. And by the way, Brito recently back up from AAA El Paso, trying to prove himself, trying to make sure that he can stick around in the bullpen. Hasn't pitched in the major leagues in a while. He was great today. Those were really big outs, big 7 outs that he got today. Also, Robert Suarez, Tanner Scott, they deserve a little honorable mention in the relief pitcher of the game today. Suarez, 1-2-3 9th inning to keep it tied, and then Tanner Scott dealt with trouble in that 10th inning. Runners on first and third base, nobody out, got out of the inning, protecting that 1-run lead, and ultimately picked up the save. So those 2 guys were really important out of the bullpen in the 9th and the 10th. But Johnny Brito, you can't say enough about what he did. That ended up being really important. When you want to talk about the Padres coming back in these games, and not just on this road trip, but this whole year, what they've shown, the ability to come back. In a lot of those cases, you have to give some credit to the bullpen and the ability to hold deficits where they are, to provide shutdown innings. And Brito did that today. Man, he was important in this win. We'll step aside. We have our player of the game, out-of-town scoreboard coming up. Our play of the game. If you want to call in, we'll squeeze in a phone call or two. We've got to make this a quick show today because we got the morning game tomorrow. And I'll tell you what, this road trip is setting like the record for longest games ever on a road trip. But 833-288-0973. We'll squeeze in a couple. Final score in 10. Padres 9, Marlins 8 on the Padres Radio Network. Our post-game show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Final score, 9-8. The Padres win it in Miami in 10 innings. Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios as we continue to wrap this one up. We'll get to a couple of your phone calls here in a second at 833-288-0973. Full look at the out-of-town scoreboard coming up as well. Like I said, I know last night we got a little crazy. Went like an hour and a half with the post-game. We're not going to do that today, because we've got an early game tomorrow, and this road trip, even though the wins have been a lot of fun to talk about, don't get me wrong, it's been a wacky trip. There was the rain delay of 3 hours on the Tuesday in Pittsburgh, a nearly 4-hour game Wednesday in Pittsburgh. Then we had a 3-hour game, the wackiness back and forth on the Thursday in Pittsburgh, with the Padres coming back once again. Then yesterday was shorter, 2 hours, 35 minutes, but it was going to be like 2 hours for a little bit there. And then a 3:39 here today. So we're between the rain delays and the times of games. Not that I'm complaining. The wins have been great to talk about. Trust me, I'm loving it. But yeah, these have not been particularly like quick and easy and kind of straightforward games. They've been weird, wild, and wacky. But hey, if you're a Padres fan, you'll take it 5-0 on this trip, so a chance to make it a perfect road trip tomorrow. Let's tell you about today's player of the game.
Which player had the biggest impact on today's game? Let's find out who is today's player of the game. Presented by Valley View Casino and Hotel. Catch every game at Patties and Pints. Plus, enjoy $4 beer every Thursday. Visit valleyviewcasino.com today.
Our player of the game. Now, you could go a couple of ways with this. Certainly, Jackson Merrill for the home run has a strong case. We're going to save Merrill for a little bit later. I'm giving player of the game to Luis Arraez today, and I'll tell you why. Arraez in the 7th inning, the 8th inning, and the 10th inning had opportunities to drive in runs, all at different points of the game. In the 7th inning, Padres are trailing 7-3. He grounds out but gets a run in. Kind of starts the comeback, makes it 7-4. Productive. The 8th inning, Merrill ties the game at 7 with the home run. Then Arraez has a runner on third base with 2 outs. And that's a spot where, hey, if you're Luis, you're just trying to do anything you can to get that go-ahead run in. And guess what? Didn't do a lot. He just bounced it up the middle, forced the defense to make a play. And Lopez, the second baseman, just couldn't get the ball out of his mitt. Arraez beats it out for an infield RBI single. That put the Padres ahead 8-7. And then the 10th inning, he steps to the plate. Go-ahead run on third base. And again, a spot there. That's a spot in that 10th inning. Luis Arraez absolutely has to just put the ball in play and try to get that run in somehow, some way. Grounds out softly enough to first base. The run comes in. Makes it a 9-8 game. That was the go-ahead run that won the game. So you look at the 3 opportunities he had late, especially the 8th inning to take the lead, the 10th inning to take the lead again. Those were critical at-bats. And Arraez did what he does best, and that's put the ball in play. And he executed in all those spots, in big, big spots late in this game. So for that reason, Luis Arraez, our player of the game. And again, we'll get to the young Jackson Merrill a little bit later. Let's take a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard.
Let's take a trip around the Bigs and tell you about the scores you need to know in our out-of-town scoreboard. Presented by Jensen Meat, where great taste meets integrity.
We have a handful of finals already around the major leagues. A doubleheader today in New York. Yankees won Game 1 of that doubleheader 8-0, and they lost Game 2 to the Rangers 9-4. So the the Yankees and the Rangers split. That doubleheader today in New York. Astros beat the Red Sox 5-4 at Fenway Park. Yordan Alvarez, a couple of home runs in that game for Houston. Giants 3, Tigers 1 in San Francisco. Giants are playing really well. Do not sleep on the Giants. They are really close to that final wild card spot all of a sudden. A's beat the Blue Jays 1-0 in Toronto. Brent Rooker providing the only run in that game with a solo home run. Games going on right now. Angels 4, Nationals 3 in D.C. in the 7th inning. Reds and the Brewers are scoreless in Milwaukee in the 7th inning. Guardians 1, Twins nothing in Minnesota in the 4th. Cardinals 2, Royals 1 in Kansas City in the 6th inning. Orioles leading the Rays 4-0 in Tampa Bay in the 5th. White Sox ahead of the Cubs 1-0 in the 5th inning. Rockies ahead of the Braves 3-0 in Colorado in the 2nd. Diamondbacks 1, Phillies nothing in the 2nd in Arizona. 2 games yet to begin. Pirates and the Dodgers coming up in L.A. a little bit later. Paul Skeens on the mound for Pittsburgh today. You know, I know there's been a lot of raging debate of Skeens versus Merrill for Rookie of the Year. I'll tell you what, though, I think Padres fans are going to be big fans of Paul Skeens today in L.A. Mets and the Mariners in Seattle at 6:40. And that's a look at the full out-of-town scoreboard on this Saturday. Again, if the Dodgers were to lose a little bit later to the Pirates, the Padres would be a game and a half out of first place in the National League West. When we come back, we'll hear our play of the game, squeeze in a phone call or two, wrap things up, get you ready for tomorrow. Final score in 10, Padres 9, Marlins 8. More after this. Our post-game show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios as we wrap this one up. Padres win it again, 9-8 in 10 innings. Second straight 10-inning win for the Padres against the Miami Marlins. In as many days, Padres will go for a sweep in a perfect road trip. The 6 games to Pittsburgh in Miami tomorrow morning. We'll have more on that game coming up in just a moment. Well, read off a couple of stats here, a couple of notes that were passed along in a bit as well, just to kind of emphasize how ridiculous this has been for the Padres over the course of the last couple of weeks, and especially on this road trip. But before we get to that, the part of this game that was just hard to believe were the heroics of Jackson Merrill once again. Padres trailed 7-5 in the top of the 8th inning. Xander Bogaerts drew a leadoff walk, and then it was Merrill who stepped in against Anthony Bender on the mound for Miami, and Merrill provided our play of the game.
What was the crucial play that determined who came out on top? This is today's Play of the Game, presented by Bill Howe Plumbing, Heating, and Air.
Here's the pitch. Merrill swings, hits it in the air, deep to right field. Brujan is back. He has done it again. A two-run homer for Jackson Merrill to tie it. The first home run allowed by the Marlins here this afternoon. It is a game-tying shot in the 8th inning, 7-7.
Jackson Merrill does it again. He strikes again for a second straight day in Miami. Jackson Merrill, after that home run, had hit a game-tying home run in the 8th or 9th inning in 3 out of the last 4 games and 4 out of the last 10 games, going back to that game-tying home run he hit off Blake Treinen against the Dodgers back at home. That was last Tuesday at Petco Park. Just unbelievable. This guy's ability at 21 years old to rise to the moment. You know, Frank and I, even here in the studio, we looked at each other. We were like, you got to be kidding me. I mean, you just can't believe what he continues to do in those spots. I mean, we're all thinking it in that 8th inning. He's representing the tying run. We are all thinking it. Everybody, you weren't listening, watching this game without thinking, is he going to do this again? And golly, he did. Man, what a moment for Jackson Merrill. Note here from Sarah Langs. Really good note here by the great Sarah Langs on Twitter. And we've told you about the Padres winning 16 of 18 for the first time ever in the history of the franchise. Sarah Lang's tweeting, the Padres have won 4 straight games despite trailing in the 8th inning or later in each. This is the first time in franchise history they've done so. So, again, Padres have won 4 straight games despite trailing in the 8th inning or later for the first time in franchise history. So a couple of historic notes from today's win. All right, we'll preview tomorrow's game in a second. Let's just squeeze in a couple of calls here before we go. Then we're going to get out of here with the morning game tomorrow. Let's go to Brock calling in from San Diego. Hi, Brock. You're on the Padres postgame show. How are you?
Good, Timmy. How you doing?
Doing great.
Good. It's hard to have a bad day, especially the past couple of days when this has been going on, right?
Yeah, for sure. What you think about the game? Go ahead.
I'll be real quick with it, and I don't even care about what any sports talk show or analyst says. Jackson Merrill needs to be Rookie of the Year. I get Paul Skeens, I totally understand it, but the influence in the way he has changed games for this team, I think that alone, he's also a position player, and he plays almost every single day.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. He needs to be Rookie of the Year. Thank you for the time. Have a good one. Bye.
Yeah, Brock, good call. He would be my pick for sure. I mean, look, I don't care about WAR. I don't care about narrative. Look, Paul Skeens, is he deserving on what he's done? Absolutely. The bottom line, both these guys are going to be deserving. But if you're somebody who's in a camp of the position player has to do it every day, and I think with Merrill, when you watch this team day in, day out, you appreciate the impact. And especially as of late. I mean, what he's done lately with the dramatic home runs, it has just built the case. He has meant so much. He's been so big in clutch situations. He would be my pick. He would. And look, we're going to see with Skeens. He's been terrific. Been absolutely terrific. He's been an amazing story in his own right. You know, I'm interested to see if he ends up getting shut down at some point. If the Pirates are sort of out of it, they save some innings. But Merrill would be my pick. We'll see how it all shakes out. But look, it's going to be a tough race to the Rookie of the Year finish. There's no doubt. But man, Jackson Merrill, again, like I've said a million times, whether he actually wins it or not, this guy has had, no doubt, a Rookie of the Year caliber season. Well beyond it. He's been tremendous. Let's go to Brian in Hemet calling in. Hi, Brian. You're on the Padres postgame show. Go ahead.
What up, Sammy?
Hey.
I wanted to get your expert opinion on this. Last year, we couldn't win to save our lives in extra innings, going, 2-12?
Yeah.
This year, we're now 7-1. So what do you attribute the turnaround from last year's just just debacle of what we all know. To this season just being let's effing go San Diego.
Yeah, Brian, look, as far as the extra inning record, look, I think number one, better execution. Absolutely. I mean, every time seemingly, take the last 2 days, for example, every time seemingly they have the opportunity in extras, they find a way to produce a run. Yesterday, 10th inning, they score the one run, the automatic runner, and then they tack on. Today, they couldn't tack on, but at the very least, they found a way to score it. I think they've had better execution. I also think when you compare the two seasons, like they've just, look, last year there was so much flukiness. I mean, to go 0-11 in extra inning games, was it 0-12 even? I can't remember. It was either 0-11 or 0-12 at one point. There was so much weird, just fluky stuff about it. I do think there's an evening out of this stuff, but I think no doubt if you want to look at what it is in extras, to me, the execution offensively. I mean, they went a while in extra innings without scoring runs last year. And they've just been so much better at executing little things, ball in play, moving the runner, tacking on after they get the first run. They've been so much better in that department with runners in scoring position and late in close situations, all of it. They've been so much better in that department. All right, squeeze in one more, then we're out of here. Katie, you have the final word in Oceanside. Katie, go ahead.
Hey, Sammy. So I, too, obnoxiously will stand from every mountaintop and shout that Jackson Merrill should be Rookie of the Year. All the other colors made my point. So I guess there's just this. The difference has been extra inning defense has been absolutely superb.
Great point.
On point.
Great
We're
point.
not letting anyone through. And also, this bullpen is so improved that I am looking forward to them getting the chance to help our starters out and making sure that we have innings to spare come the end of the season. And that's all I got to say.
Yeah, great point, Katie. And the defense, once again, was on full display today. The play that Manny made in the bottom half of the 10th inning, that was not an easy play. And there have been a number of plays like that late in games in the extra innings they've made. Manny made a perfect play on that. So you're right, Katie. Great point. It hasn't just been about the offense as far as executing and extras. It's been about the defense, too. And there have been a lot of plays like that. And today was a great example with what Manny did in that bottom half of the 10th inning to keep it a one-run lead. And ultimately, Tanner Scott took care of the rest and ends up being a 9-8 win. All right. As always, if you missed any of our post-game show, you can go back and listen to all of it on the Inside San Diego Baseball podcast with Sam Levitt, available on the Odyssey app or wherever you find your podcast. You can also go back on the 97.3 The Fan YouTube channel and catch any of our post-game coverage there as well. Taking a look ahead to tomorrow, we are on the air bright and early tomorrow. First pitch at 10:40 a.m. here on the West Coast. Pre-game start time at 9:40. Right-hander Dylan Cease on the mound for the Padres. Right-hander Max Meyer on the mound for the Miami Marlins. Taking a look at the final totals in this one, in 10. For the Padres, 9 runs, 12 hits, 1 error. They left on 10. For the Marlins, 8 runs, 11 hits, no errors. They left on 10. Winning pitcher in this game, Robert Suarez. Well-deserved. Scoreless 9th inning. He improves to 7-1. Losing pitcher was John McMillan, who drops to 0-1. And the save goes to Tanner Scott. Scott picking up his 19th save of the year between Miami and San Diego. Time of game, 3 hours and 39 minutes, and the crowd at Lone Depot Park in Miami, 20,223. Once again, first pitch bright and early tomorrow morning at 10:40 a.m. We'll be on the air at 9:40 with our Eco Water SoCal Padres pregame show. Until then, for our great studio coordinator, Frank Marchese, I'm Sam Levitt saying so long from inside our San Diego studios. Again, the final score in 10 innings. The San Diego Padres 9 and the Miami Marlins 8. We'll talk to you tomorrow on the Padres Radio Network. Have a great night, everybody.